Hey, first-time home buyers. In the last video, I talked about 5 biggest mistakes first-time home buyers make and should be avoided. In this video, I'm gonna give you top 5 tips for buying foreclosed home. Remember to visit kennycivil.com to learn more. 5 tips for buying a foreclosed home. Buying a foreclosed home is not like the typical home purchase. In many cases, only one real estate agent is involved. The seller wants a pre-approval letter from a lender before accepting an offer. There is little, if any, room for negotiation. The home is sold as is, and it's up to the buyer to pay for repairs. On the upside, most bank-owned homes are vacant, which can speed up the process of moving in. Buying a foreclosure is definitely a bit of a grind. It's not easy. You are getting fantastic pricing, but sometimes it takes going through a lot of houses and writing a lot of offers to get the home you want. 5 steps to buying a foreclosed home. Find an agent specializing in foreclosures. Get pre-approved for a mortgage. Know how long it takes to sell a home in your price bracket. Study the sale prices of comparable homes in your area. Remember, the home is sold as is. Find a real estate broker and a lender. The first 2 steps to buying a foreclosure should be taken at the same time. While you're looking for a real estate broker who works directly with banks that own foreclosed houses, get a pre-approval letter from a lender. I recommend shoppers first visit any site with a database of foreclosed homes. You also could look at local real estate website that lets you filter the result to see only foreclosures. You might find acronym REO, which means real estate owned. This signifies that the property has been foreclosed on and the lender now owns it and is selling it. Get a broker on your side. The goal of combining through foreclosure listing is not to find a house, it's to find an agent. Banks usually hire real estate brokers to handle their REO properties. In many cases, the buyer works directly with bank's broker instead of using a buyer's agent. That way, the commission doesn't have to be split between 2 brokers. A lot of these real estate realtors have a long-term relationship with these banks, and they know of listings that haven't even come on the listing yet. Call them about the listing that you're interested in, but also ask them about listing that may be coming up, because sometimes it may take a day or 2 or even a week before a listing actually comes onto the database. In places where thousands of foreclosed properties are for sale, you might not get much attention from overload agents. To prove that you're serious about buying, right before or after you meet with the agent, meet with the lender. Get a pre-approval letter. Unless you plan to pay cash, you'll need a recent pre-approval letter from a lender. The letter detail how much money you can borrow based on the lender's assessment of your credit score and income. The problem is buyer want to find the house first and then they think they will work out the financing. But the problem is the really good deals on bank on, they go quick. The buyer doesn't necessarily have time to try to work out financing you afterward. They need to work that out first. Sometimes first time buyers make the mistake of assuming that the bank selling the home will also finance the mortgage as part of the deal. Don't expect to get financing from the bank that foreclose on it. That's a total separate transaction, and they view it that way. The people in the bank or your department are net loan officers. They are getting rid of bad assets. Look at comps before making an offer. There is no rule of thumb on what the bank bottom line is on price. Just as with any other real estate purchase, you have to look at the recent sales prices of comparable properties or comps. You really have to look at the comps in today's market, today's current market conditions, and write a competitive offer based on that. Sometimes the bank price says the home's really low and the home will have multiple offers over list price within hours. Sometimes it's priced too high and you can come in lower. A lot of times buyers will come to me and say, we want to write offers for half price. It just doesn't work that way. Bid the higher price if home are selling quick. Keep in mind that foreclosed houses generally are sell as is. That means that you shouldn't expect to get a discount to compensate your repairs. Let's say the house is listing for $200,000 and the comparable $200,000. So the client comes and say, hey, look, I want to buy this house, but I've got to do repair carpet and fix some of the mold damage, so I want to take $50,000 off the price. You know what? All the other houses were in the same condition and they sold for $200,000. I further advise finding out how quick comparable houses are selling. With foreclosures, a 3,500 square foot houses with pool in gated community might sell within days or hours, but more modest homes might sit on the market for weeks or vice versa, depending on market condition. If the foreclosed homes you're looking at selling swiftly, the best advice on bank-owned property is to come in at your highest and best, unless the property has been sitting on the market forever with no activity. If you're going to be upset because you would have gone $5,000 more but you lost the property, just bid the higher price in the first place. Find tradespeople who can assess repairs damage, because repairs are almost inevitable with foreclosed houses. I recommend getting to know tradespeople who can assess and repair damage from pests, mold, and leaks. You should assume that the air conditioning needs to be fixed and possibly the heating system too. It all sounds daunting, but at least you don't have to wait for the owner to move out of the house. In the next video, I will talk about 9 grants and programs to help you buy your first home. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share, and subscribe.